doing a quick instructional video about keeping a ship's log, or the boat's log anyway, or skipper's log if you're still chartering, and it's whatever. It's a good idea to have a notebook that you keep track of what happens when you're out there, so that you learn from mistakes and learn from what you did right too. And you have notes to refer to if you ever want to go back to some place that had, you know, some interesting things to deal with. And I use this is a surveyor's notebook. You can buy a much bigger version, but I just like the small one because it's easy to keep in just about any bag or whatever. It doesn't take up too much room, but it's still really handy. Just to show you, you got a spreadsheet style on this side and a graph paper on this side with a red line down the middle, which is perfect for doing a deviation chart for any boat that you're on. So for charters and so forth, it's a real handy thing to have. This side's doubled many times as a ship's log. I show up to do a job somewhere or take a crew out. No one has thought to bring a log for the boat during the trip. So, well, that's what this has been used for over the years. So this is a new one that I just started putting together. Has Beaufort wind scale, wind speed calculations. I learned to navigate 40 years ago, and we do a lot of things differently. I use decimals of an hour, so I can just kind of calculate a lot of things in my head, and that's one of the things this is for. It's just when you're groggy or whatever in the middle of the night, you can look in here and go, oh yeah, 4/10 of an hour is 24 minutes, and so on and so forth. Real handy thing to do. Here's one thing that I like to do regularly is when I'm out on a boat and you're not sure how well the knot meter is working. This is a time speed scale. You figure out what 16 feet is on the boat and watch flotsam go by. 5 seconds is 2 knots and 2 seconds is 5 knots. And it's got all the other things broken down. Here's another handy one, is the length overall times 0.6 divided by the number of seconds that it takes to float by the whole boat. I've had a crew member go up on the bow with a bag of Dorito chips, and they throw a chip ahead of the boat, and when it passes the bow they drop their hand, and someone starts a stopwatch and then stops it when it comes back by the stern, and would do that several times, and you have a really good idea what the boat speed is. Fuel consumption. Getting ready to do a trip, delivery down south. This is to help me figure out what the capacity is on the boat that we're using. This range and range per height are about the geographical range of things. One of the things I used this for was knowing exactly how far south or north I am from Point Sur at the moment that it appears and disappears. And also just figuring out how much height, what the height is above the horizon can help you too. Here's some details about measurements on, you're trying to find out whether you have the right size jib or whatever for a boat. And these are, the J, the P measurement, the ISP for a fractional rig, or the I measurement from the total height of the mast. Just an easy reference for talking to other people about stuff. Many of you know about having a sail plan ready. Well, here's my sail plan. Everything inside the bay, some of the real handy ones. Alcatraz to Southampton Shoal. Alcatraz Light, by the way, is 003, and it's 3.5 nautical miles. Outside the gate, Duxbury to Drake's G1, 286, and then it gives a reciprocal, and then it's 15 nautical miles. So these things are handy. I just use this as a sail plan, or I can hand write it into something. Rules of the road. it's these first two that are kind of handy to have, because the wording on the international and the inland can be a little confusing about what they really mean, so I just keep them as a reference. Again, if you're tired, sleepy, it's at night, you have an encounter with another boat or whatever, it's good to have these things all ready. For international travel, it tells you Region A, green right returning, which is most of Europe. Region B, which is us in North America. And it tells you, right, kind of breaks it down. B is for North and South America and the Philippines. These are the cardinal markers used all over Europe. You know, 2 hash marks up on top of the buoy means stay north of it, and you can see what the others are. And the coloration, it's yellow and black are the 2 colors of the buoys. Some other things that I have in there, this is something as a sailing instructor, you know, I learned how to navigate a long time ago, and so this is a handy reference for me for U.S. sailing standards. I just look on here and go, oh yeah, that's, if I need to tell someone, you know, how to market for U.S. sailing standards, it's right here. Here's some stuff for knowing your distance off things, you know, 2 fists, the number of fists, you know, kind of gives you the number of degrees that you would have off of something. The Beaufort wind scale is in the other one. Let's see what else is in here quickly. Just some old things, specs on my old boat, and you know, the different sail measurements and so forth. Real good thing to have. I'm also on a real big variety of boats, and some of them, I can't find them right here, but they, like the firefighting equipment and how to operate it and so forth, I write down those things. When you're going to charter, a couple of things to remember when you're chartering is, you know, same thing, you want to write out the distances to and the degrees from point A to point B given from, you know, your starting point to whatever direction you may be going. Have it in a notebook, it's really handy. And here's some of those things, the radio channels that are that you'd need to communicate with people for the weather, Coast Guard, other stuff. This is a trip down to St. Martin and St. Bart's and some other, the rest of the islands in that area. And it gives you the names of the hospitals at the time. Anguilla Cottage Hospital is no longer, there's actually 2 hospitals on the island now, but that's not either one of them. And St. Bart's, it was the Gustavia Harbor back then. Don't remember what it is now, but anyway, hospital, put the phone numbers on there, you have them ready to go. Let's see, more notes about St. Martin's. And there you can see, this is time, course, and speed. Must have been a boat that didn't have a ship's log on it or something, so we had to calculate. Looks like something from trip to Canada. Okay, so, and some people will, you know, they want to download stuff from the internet and keep it in a binder, right? Well, that's a good formula for having so much crap in there that you're never going to use, or it's not going to be useful, whatever. But what I like about writing stuff down is that if I don't need it or I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to write it down in here. So it really ends up being just really essential stuff, and you have plenty of other room for stuff you need to make about the trip you're making. Okay, ship's log for time, course, and log. Other notes, deviation chart, whatever you know. So, and this, I usually use those as a sort of a skipper's log too, but this is basically what this is. And it's not just about my boat, my personal boat, but it was about other trips I took. Here's a trip from up in Oregon, out from, where is it? The Salmon River, out to Hart's Cove. What else? Oh, and just trips around the bay on my boat, Sylvia, the Columbia 29. So I always put the date, who was on board, and where we went, and then notes about other stuff like the current, wind speed, or whatever. Okay, hope that was helpful.